Man, do I love Ravens Steelers games. They're just awesome. They're awesome. They're two teams that don't like each other, two teams that know each other. It's exactly what you want in a professional sports rivalry. Great coaching, great players, great drama, great intensity. Just another awesome one. So that's just the first thought. And all hail King Henry. I mean, when the Ravens signed this guy, it just felt like it should be, right? It felt like this guy belonged in Baltimore. It looked like he was built for Baltimore. It looked like all those years in Tennessee were just him, with all due respect to the Titans fans, like hanging out until he wound up in Baltimore to do Baltimore things. And even with Lamar having his best passing season ever, with Lamar having arguably his best weapons outside and two tight ends who are terrific. Um, Maybe the best setup for Lamar with the offensive system and coordinator, and it's all perfect for Lamar. And then Derrick Henry proves his worth and his value once again. And you just knew that this guy was going to fit hand in glove into what Baltimore was doing, even with them trying to figure out in the first couple weeks how to make it work in their system. 162 yards and Lamar with 3 touchdown passes. If that happens, obviously the Ravens are going to be very difficult to beat. And the Steelers, had it working in this game. At one point, late first quarter, early second quarter, Russ was cooking. He was making plays just like the old Seattle days, and the George Pickens injury causing him to miss a third game now in a row. Have it dissipated. The Ravens made some defensive plays when they needed it. That one when it looked like Russ was ticketed for the end zone. Huge play to force a fumble. And then the Ravens took that field, flipped it, and scored a touchdown. Actually turned a fumble on their own 4 yard line by Russ into points, a touchdown. But the big sequence was the wild 5 play sequence to start the fourth quarter, preceded by Pittsburgh scoring a touchdown and then the Ravens answering with a touchdown, and the Steelers down by 7, starting the fourth quarter, just barely on the plus side of the field, a 4th and 6. And Mike Tomlin decided to go for it. That one I didn't get. I didn't understand that one. I thought they would punt, play defense, because the defense was holding its own against Lamar. I mean, Lamar wasn't coming up with a 300, 400-yard passing game. He barely had 200 yards passing. It was just his terrific throws in the end zone that the Steelers were having trouble defending more than most. But, going for it and getting stopped. Then the Ravens on the first snap of their possession after that turnover on downs was a 44-yard rip by Derrick Henry. And then Lamar threw an interception. Minkah Fitzpatrick picked it off. Boom, boom, boom. Go for it on fourth down. Don't make it. Ravens get the ball, rip one off with Derrick Henry. Place going nuts. Interception. Minkah Fitzpatrick on Lamar. 2 plays later, a pick six for the Ravens. That 5 play sequence was just wild and obviously quite decisive. And I'm wondering if, the Steelers will wind up lamenting it because the AFC North is 100% up for grabs. 100% up for grabs. And both of these teams can win the division, go deep into the playoffs, make the Super Bowl, and maybe even win it. 100%. The loser will have to go to Houston and play an extra playoff game on the road. That's it. That's basically what's at stake over the final 2 weeks. Steelers are home against the Chiefs, and then they're home against Cincinnati. This is their final road game of the year. They don't have to leave Pittsburgh. They're home for Christmas, and then they're home for the Cincinnati Bengals, and we'll see what happens there. The Ravens have to go to Houston on Christmas. And if they lose that game, they might as well just keep their bags in their hotel room in Houston because essentially it would put them in a tough spot to win the division. Obviously, the Steelers could lose their final 2 games. I mean, I could sit here and go with over all the scenarios. It would take up the rest of this time of the video. But the Ravens can win this division, win next week, win the week after, win the division. Hope that the Steelers slip up so it doesn't have to go to a tiebreak, and the Steelers can absolutely slip up. The Kansas City Chiefs and their 14 wins are coming to town. And then the winner's the 3 seed and can welcome in a host of teams. A host of teams. Most likely the Chargers. So how about that? A Harbaugh potentially happening in the first round of the playoffs. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Let's just tip the cap for another great game for these 2 teams going against each other. The decision to go for it on 4th down by the Steelers set up a crazy sequence that leads to a pick 6. And who knows what's going to happen over the next 2 weeks. But bottom line is, for the Steelers, let's get Pickens back. Let's get this offense clicking. Let's win one of the next 2 home games and give yourself a great shot to not leave Pittsburgh for a full month. And for the Ravens, kudos to them. What a big-time win. Lamar putting up MVP numbers again. Derrick Henry putting his hat decisively in the Offensive Player of the Year ring. And what an awesome professional football game this was. And on to the rest of Week 16. Oh, baby.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku Channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.